Microsoft keeps making Windows worse and worse by adding more AI garbage into it. You can literally get ads for WhatsApp and this other garbage. You literally get ads in your desktop now. It's absurd how crazy the system is getting. And all this bloat, all this garbage slows down your computer. My computer is a 2013 refurbished PC. It runs pretty good. It's got decent specs, but Windows slows it down so much with all this extra garbage, right? And I'm trying to just get my work done. You see, I'm a cybersecurity guy. I'm doing running my virtual machines, doing all that kind of stuff, right? And I have tried switching to Linux, which I'm sure most of you guys have heard about Linux. My take, I just don't think it's all the way there yet for most people. And, I tried all these different debloater tools out there. There's a ton of different options. From what I've noticed from every single one of these options is you have to do everything manually. You have to check a ton of boxes, or you have to have these very specific steps. I'm pretty sure Atlas OS only works on Windows Professional, fresh install of Windows Professional. From all the work that I do, I install a lot of different Windows systems and I want them debloated, right? It's so annoying to have to do that process so many times over. It gets so infuriating because I just want a solution that I can just click it, it will just do it, and then it's just done, right? So that's why I created my own debloater tool called Talon. So what it does is you open it, you just pick what web browser you want it to install because it does remove Edge off your system. Click start, and then it just goes at it. You wait a few minutes, you watch it work, and then it reboots your system and you're good to go. The issue with Talon is that it's always been oversimplified, I think. It kind of hides the process from you. It doesn't, there's always been kind of an issue with transparency. It doesn't tell you exactly what it's doing in the background. And then there's also been issues like the UI for Talon, the actual interface that you work with, is pretty shit because it was pretty primitive. It was pretty awful. It'd cover your whole screen. It would just have you pick a browser. It was like hey, you can donate to us if you want. Thanks. Click, okay, I understand. And then it would just start. There was no way to exit Talon if you accidentally started it or whatever, right? If you Alt F4'd the UI, it would start the debloat process. It had no customization at all, right? Most people don't want customization. They just want that 2-click debloat experience. But some people don't want Talon to set their desktop background to the Raven background, right? Or some people don't want a certain step to be ran. Some people don't want Edge to be removed. You can actually customize it now because I actually released a new update for Talon and we completely redid the UI. The whole experience is customizable now and everything, and it still adheres to the 2-click debloat experience. Just now you have more control optionally. And this update is a major benefit to more tech-savvy users now. Talon has really been aiming towards less tech-savvy users, but now that we have Talon basically there, the whole foundation and everything, now I've been working on improving it to be a much better experience for more tech-savvy users too. So we're going to jump into all of it today. I am stuck with one monitor right now, so bear with me here. I just want to show you this real quick. I was literally just talking about how you get ads in your desktop. Look at this. Recommended. Install WhatsApp because it's secure, reliable. Come on, man. All right, so I did have to restart it, but here we are now. It does have internet access. So I'm going to walk you through actually getting Talon going on this system. First thing you want to do is the bottom right. I know it's covered by my webcam, but if you go to the bottom right, there is this arrow icon, this upper arrow icon. If you click that, you should find Windows Security, and inside of that a blue shield icon. Go ahead and click that. So there's something we're going to have to do, and it's unfortunate that we need to do it because of the way Talon is. It debloats your system. It's making all these changes to your system. Microsoft doesn't like that very much. If you notice that the Talon exe is disappearing before you can run it, or if Talon randomly quits in the middle of the process, then that most likely is Windows Defender. But if you go ahead and head into virus and threat protection settings, you can try first disabling real-time protection, disabling dev drive protection, make sure all of these are off. You can try this. But oftentimes, from my experience, this is not enough. And the reason why is because Windows Defender, it really likes to protect you even when you don't want it to protect you. You turn off real-time protection, all this stuff, and it will still stand in the way, be your white knight protecting you from debloating your system. So if that's the case, if you're having issues with it still after that, you go into exclusions and click add an exclusion. So you can see I already have it here, but I'll show again. So add an exclusion, click folder. You'll just want to click this PC on the side and then click your C drive. This way, Windows Defender will truly fuck off and not bother with it at all. The issue with this is you really should turn this back on after Talon's finished installing. Don't keep this past the Talon install. Trust me, after Talon installs, you can turn this back on and it'll be fine. Talon used to only work on brand new, fresh installs of Windows. That's not the case anymore. You can use Talon on in-use systems now. There used to be Talon and then Talon Lite. I made two different versions. Talon was the full debloat experience, but it only worked on Windows 11 Home and Professional. And then Talon Lite worked on in-use systems, and it also worked on Windows 10 and any other version of Windows 11. I combined them now. Talon does work on in-use systems and does work on any version of Windows 11 Home, Enterprise, LTSC, whatever. It doesn't work on Windows 10 anymore. And the reason why is because Windows 10 is no longer even supported by Microsoft. They don't, Windows 10 isn't getting security updates anymore. It's not even updated. So it doesn't really make sense for us to keep supporting it. So unfortunately, if you want to use Talon, you are going to have to make the painful switch to Windows 11. If you just look up, if you go to google.com, I'm pretty sure if you just look up Raven Talon and you hit enter, the GitHub will show up, you know, some past videos and stuff, some questions about it. I know there's a lot of Reddit discussion. If you go to the GitHub right here, you don't have to worry about none of this stuff. There you go. It brings you to the software page. So we actually updated the description to have more information for you. There is now documentation because I really want to make sure we're improving transparency with Talon and everything. So if you click here, it'll take you to the GitHub where the documentation is. The documentation as it stands right now, this version of the documentation is outdated. This is not the documentation for the newest version. And the reason being that I need help. Join the Discord server for more information if you want to participate in that, help me out. But I would really appreciate help getting this updated. You can go ahead and click download. I removed any mentions of like, hey, you can donate, by the way, in the software. There used to be this like quick little page that showed you like, hey, please consider donating if you appreciate Talon. We just put it in the download page now. It's not in the software anymore. It downloads a zip file, extract it. Don't run the exe from inside the zip file. I know some people do that. So before I actually show you running it regularly, I do want to show that Talon can be ran from the command line. This is something very valuable for more tech-savvy users because Talon is fully usable from inside the UI. And we don't use the Unix style like arguments like this or whatever. It uses key value, so key equals value. So whatever the key is, like I'm pretty sure one of them is a developer mode and true. Yeah. See, it's configure dash updates. See, there we go. So then, yeah, it would be like, let's say you wanted to fully run Talon from the command line. You can do like talon.exe, and then if you wanted apply back to skip the background being applied, you do apply background equals false. If you wanted to do headless, you would do headless equals true. There's now a headless mode in Talon, meaning you are trying to mass deploy Talon inside your company, inside your like computer network and everything like that. That's fully possible now. If you do headless equals true, in the command line, you can even pass a custom configuration file, custom arguments, and everything like that. So if you are a company and you do want to use Talon and all that stuff to debloat your systems, instead of having to do it manually on every computer, now you can just mass deploy it like that just fine. And it produces logs and you guys will notice a much nicer UI experience. It's not going to cover my entire screen now. It's not going to do any of that. So you can see it's a nice actual regular window that you can drag and everything. And if you do hover the browser options, it does give you opinionated information about the browsers. So Brave is the recommended browser as it's the closest to Chrome while respecting your privacy. And then it tells you like LibreWolf's only recommended for tech-savvy users. It can be harder to use. Firefox isn't recommended unless necessary because of their sponsored content built in and telemetry and all that stuff. It tells you Waterfox is pretty good, but not as good as Brave. And then it's saying Edge sucks, right? You will notice down here in the bottom right, it now has an option for do not install a browser. I remember some people actually commenting and saying, I don't want Talon to install a browser at all. Now you have that option. If you want to just skip the browser install, you can. But keep in mind, this might leave you without a web browser. So, and now there's a review page. This is fantastic for transparency because now you actually see what's about to happen to your computer. It says the list on the left shows everything Talon is going to do to your system, and it is in order. If there's something you don't want, you can remove it from the list. You can see you can actually go back now. If you click the wrong browser, you can click this button and go back, which is another complaint that I know some people had. Imagine the old Talon UI where if you accidentally misclicked and clicked a browser you didn't want, you went, oh shit, I can't close this. So you try to Alt F4 or whatever. Then it starts the debloat process and you're like, no, fuck, right? The old UI experience was terrible. You can reset to defaults if you do remove, too much. If you remove some stuff you don't want in the, you're like, oh shit, wait, how do I get this back, right? Like you accidentally remove some extra stuff, you can click reset to defaults. If you do reset to defaults, it gets rid of your browser option though. So if you click reset to defaults, you need to go back and get your browser. So let's say I don't want it to apply the background. I don't want it to remove Edge permanently. Then, you can just remove those options and you can click start. Now, something else you probably already noticed is that if you hover the items, it gives you an explanation now about what exactly this means. So to complete the look of a freshly installed system, Talon sets your desktop background to a Raven branded one. Now you can see the remove Microsoft Edge permanently. So Talon uninstalls Microsoft Edge and ensures it doesn't come back. So the system won't reinstall it back in an update or whatever. But you can always reinstall it yourself. You see, the way Talon uninstalls Microsoft Edge is it makes sure that the system can't bring it back, but you can. And now we fixed an issue where it would remove something called MS Edge Web View 2. Now, MS Edge Web View 2 is a dependency that a lot of apps depend on. It's this piece of software that a lot of apps need to function. Before, Talon would gut Edge so hard that it would get rid of MS Edge Web View 2. So certain apps like the Netflix desktop app or some games, some game launchers and stuff like that stopped working. And you'd have to manually reinstall MS Edge Web View 2. This is fixed now, so we actually improved the Edge mover much better now, so it does make sure that MS Edge Web View 2 stays, so you won't have that issue anymore. I know that was probably one of the biggest complaints with Talon, and it definitely was bothersome to me too, right? Because I use Talon, I use the software that I make. So let's go ahead and delve into the advanced section. So if you click advanced here, and by the way, if you're a less tech savvy user, you're not super great with computers or whatever, you just want something to work, I wouldn't mess with this if I were you. You can if you want though. If you are a more tech savvy user, go for it. If you go in here though, there is an option called developer mode. Now what developer mode is it does two things. One, if you enable developer mode during the install process, there's not going to be the typical overlay that like covers your screen that says like, oh, Talon's installing, you can sit and watch, and it has like the loading spinner and stuff. It's not going to show you that, so you can still access your desktop. This is good for more tech savvy people, but the overlay is there obviously just so that less tech savvy users aren't messing with the process. It's not really a good idea to mess with the Talon process as it's going through it, but again, if you enable developer mode, we assume you know what you're doing. And one other thing is I'm pretty sure it suppresses the restart. Talon automatically restarts your system after the install process is completed. If you don't want that to happen, you can enable developer mode. Talon used to be pretty kind of messy with how it handled things internally. I redesigned the way Talon works so that technically this entire interface you're interacting with right now is a glorified UI for just editing a config. Talon now has a single centralized configuration file called an install plan. And this install plan file contains all the settings for how Talon's going to debloat your system. So Talon is essentially split up into two parts now, the actual debloat process and then the configuration process. I'm just editing a config file right now, but I put a fancy UI for it. You can actually export and import these install plans. So instead of having to configure Talon manually every single time and like set all your custom settings, if you're a more tech savvy person, you can just do it once. You can export the plan, you get this file, and then you can actually use it again later. So I'll go ahead and show you really quick what this file looks like. It's not too crazy. God, the new notepad sucks. Okay, let me show you this. So If we see in here version 1, and then it has the selected browser, the include the browser install, it has the items for everything it's going to be doing, the status of everything, so enabled, disabled, all that stuff, right? You can see all the settings it's going to be doing. And then you can actually customize these settings now for WinUtil and Win11debloat, which are those two debloat scripts that Talon automates and uses in the background. And that was a major thing, is that Talon really lacked customizability for more tech-savvy users. Now you have full control over it. So if you didn't want it to remove home and remove gallery, if you didn't want it to, revert the start menu to the old version, because I'm sure you guys saw in the new major updates for Windows, they changed the whole start menu and shit. If you want to bring back the older one, like this one, then you can. And you can see all these other settings that you can configure now. If you go to WinUtil, you can actually make a WinUtil config. You can export it, then you can paste it into here. And then Windows Win11debloat args right here. So you can actually edit the arguments that it's passing to Win11debloat if you want to customize those settings as well. If you don't want it to do certain things, right, now you can do that. And then if we go in here, you can actually change the registry settings that Talon makes. Because remember how I said it modifies the Windows registry to do a couple of things? So you can actually customize it now and set whatever custom registry rules that you want. Enough yap, I'll go ahead and actually show the install process if you just click start. And then there you go. Past all of that, this kind of goes back to, if you've been following my work, following Talon, this looks pretty much identical to how Talon used to look. Like, this is the same interface and everything like that at this point. The process now is pretty much the same as it was before. But remember, under the hood, it is now a centralized config that you edit, and then now it goes entirely off that centralized config and everything. So the whole under the hood process for Talon is so much cleaner and so much nicer now. Sorry, fellas, I went to go take a shit. So as you can see now, the system is completely debloated. So again, very first thing I'm going to do now that I'm back in this system is I'm going to go to Virus and Threat Protection, Manage Settings. I'm going to go down to Exclusions. I'm going to go back here and I'm going to remove this exclusion. Very important. Remember that. But other than that, as you can see, the taskbar is completely empty. There's like nothing here, right? Talon does keep LinkedIn, the stupid LinkedIn link. And again, this is because it's not technically an app. It's like a web link in your start menu. It's very stupid. When you click uninstall, it's not uninstalling an app. It's removing the icon. It's so stupid the way they do it. But system's completely debloated. You can ignore that. Don't worry about it. But as you can see, it does keep like essential stuff. So like Notepad, I know many people really wanted Talon to keep Paint, so it keeps Paint. Phone link is still here, as a lot of people do use that. Apparently I don't, but I know a lot of people do, and it's pretty out of the way. I'll go ahead and show you the task manager. Here's the thing. So I'm sure I've been asked this before. A lot of people ask me, why don't I normally show the process count? Why don't I normally show, all that stuff? And it's because these are not actually accurate indicators of performance. Raw numbers like maximum FPS that I can possibly get, or stuff like that, isn't actually a good indicator of real tangible performance. And to explain that a little bit, let's say I'm on my computer right now and I put in a new graphics card, so now I'm playing Minecraft at like 1,000 FPS. My monitor is only 60 hertz, so I'm only seeing 60 of those frames out of like the 1,000 frames. So someone might call that performance, thinking that they're so performant and stuff by having 1,000 FPS, when in reality all you're doing is severely overworking your GPU and wasting resources. You're wearing your GPU out way faster because it's processing all these extra frames that you're not even seeing. So that's just one example of many, but to explain that raw numbers, get the number as high as possible kind of thing, is not actually a good indicator of performance. And just like with the process count, laptops are always going to have a higher process count than PCs. And that's because most modern laptops come with extra drivers and all that stuff that need to run in the background that really aren't taking up any actual tangible performance, but just have extra processes. And most apps split up their app into multiple sub processes and stuff like that for better performance. If every application was a monolith, just singular process, that can typically actually be worse for performance in some situations compared to splitting different jobs up into different processes. So that's my whole point, is just that don't rely on process count entirely for an indicator of performance. It can kind of be an indicator, right? A lower process, if you have a process count of like 300 versus like a process count of like what I'm getting right now, 89, obviously the 89 system's probably running better, right? Probably doing better. But just don't rely on like getting these numbers as low as possible being your kind of indicator, right? If you want to try out Talon, you can go download it. The link will be in the description if you want to go get